So the type of investments I look for are fairly conservative, but ones that have a potential for upside. So I don't mind having a certain amount of risk as part of my portfolio, as long as there are returns that match that risk. Um, but but I also like to make sure that we're going in with our eyes wide open. So if there is a particular risk in a deal, and I think every deal has some amount of risk associated with it, we try to find mitigators for that risk. And as long as I'm comfortable in what those mitigators are, and as long as our underwriting accommodates for some of that, then I'm comfortable with it. I don't mind making that investment, because if you don't take certain risk, you're not going to get the return, right? If somebody, I think somebody once told me the safest place to invest is just put your money in a safe and dig it and put it in some hole somewhere. But that's also a way to not get any returns at all. So it's a balance, and again, I don't mind taking some risk, provided we know what those are going in, and we've tried to leave a good amount of padding for the unknown unknowns, as they like to say. Real estate is one of those asset classes that allows you to do wealth preservation, wealth creation, as well as income generation, because especially multifamily, it's an asset class. It's a physical asset, so that doesn't fluctuate as much as a traditional stock market or bond market. So from that standpoint, it's fairly stable. It doesn't have in down markets. It doesn't have the same level of foreclosures as a single family does. And so from a store of value standpoint, it's a good store of value, so to speak. From the wealth creation aspect, we talked about increasing the NOI and being able to get a 10-fold, 15-fold, even 20-fold return on every increase you make to the NOI, or every dollar to the bottom line, you get a exponential return. And from an income standpoint, given that a lot of these properties are occupied even as we are renovating them, or post-renovation, there are people living in those properties. They're paying you rent every month. Obviously that rent is higher than what you're paying the bank. So, and your expenses. So whatever the delta is, then becomes your monthly income. So it can be an income generating property as well. And depending on the nature of the property you're buying, some of our properties, are cash flow very well. And so there's a fair amount of monthly income that they produce. So this, it's fairly unique in that, and then on top of that, you also get the depreciation that we touched on. So when you add that into the mix, you're hard pressed to find a better asset class, in my opinion. So looking at my portfolio, yeah, there are occasionally one or two early stage investments that may have a nice little hockey stick growth there, but at the same time, there's several of them that fizzle out and die. So when you look at the risk and reward, real estate has been a pretty good asset class for me, and over time, I've actually shifted more and more of my the net worth into real estate.